Let's make a button maker handle. So before you begin making the button maker handle, make sure you've created a new project called button maker and that you actually are on that project before you open up a new file. So you can always do that from the project manager, and we'll start a new file. And the button maker handle is out of the things in 5.5a. It's not terribly bad. The only really hard thing in a sense is that you have a couple of dimensions that you have to figure out mathematically, and the document does kind of walk you through what dimensions you're supposed to need to do it. Two schools of thought on how to create this button maker handle as far as the geometry is concerned, but no matter which way you go, you need an axis of rotation. So the quickest way to do that is to make a horizontal line and then switch it to a construction line. And we'll use this as our axis of rotation. Now the first of the two ways you can do it for the geometry of the button maker handle is to sketch it with lines. Something like this. And you can allow it to auto constrain because they're all horizontal and vertical lines, so there's no problem making something like that. Okay, so it'll look something like that, and then we'll add in some dimensions. Now there are two dimensions it already gives us. One of them is 4.469 for the overall length, and I'll have to zoom out when I do that, and that's okay. And the other one they give you is the thickness of this portion of the handle, which is 0.156. Also, don't get scared when you add in these other three dimensions that it wants you to fill in. It is only using a thousandths precision, so don't worry about that when it cuts off if you insert more than a thousandths worth of things. So anyway, first dimension it wants us to put in is it wants us to put the thickness of the handle, and it gives us a blank on the document for that. But if you look up at the drawing, you'll see that if you look in the top portion, it tells you how thick it is on the section view, and it's 0.25. So we put in 0.25 for the thickness. And then another one it wants us to put in is the distance from the bottom line to the axis of rotation. Well, remember that what we're creating here is a revolved feature. That means that this geometry is going to, in 3D mode, basically go all the way around this axis. So it's going to go in front, behind, and then all the way around to create a solid. Much to the same way that like an actual bowl or cup is created, using pretty much the same principle. So this particular dimension, you could think of this axis of rotation as a center line, which means that this is going to be a circle when you look at it as a cross section. So this is a radius. The distance from the center line to this edge here is a radius. And if I look at the drawing, it gives me the diameter. OD in the drawing, by the way, says outside diameter to specify that it's talking about the outside circle, not the inside circle. So 1.375 outside diameter, and if I want to find that radius, I just type in that diameter and divide it by 2. So if I do that, I see that it's 0.6875, and again, don't be scared when you put this in. It's going to round it to 0.688, and that's okay. And then so we did that. Now notice I moved my axis down, but don't worry about that because the next thing we're going to put in is how far away this particular object or this particular line is from here. So I might have to move this down and just to make sure it's not going to do that. Let me see if I can do that really quick. Let's try with the dimension and see what happens here. If not, I can add in another dimension, and that's okay. So we'll do that. And then from here to here. And let's see if I could put that in. By the way, that dimension is going to be half of 0.1875. There's my calculator. 0.1875 divided by 2, 0.09375 or 0.094. Okay, so now it didn't do that, and that's okay. What I can do now is just to kind of give it a little extra zing. I'm going to do an overall dimension here, and this particular distance is going to be the rest of it. So if I go, this is just from, oops, it doesn't want me to do that. So let's try this again. Let's see if we can move this feature down. Nope, move this feature up. Okay, so let's fix this again here. Let's do it this way. Let's add this dimension here first. What was it again? 0.094. Okay. And again, I'm going to leave these add-ins to the video. Not going to edit it out or anything like that because it's important to see that, again, Autodesk can be and is quite finicky, and sometimes you just got to redo or do things in a different order to get it to work. So 0.688 here. There we go. Okay. So there's our feature, there's our axis of rotation, our dimensions are all in. So now we'll finish the sketch. And now it's time to use our new feature, which is the Revolve feature. So again, what this does is it takes geometry and it rotates it around an axis. That means we have to tell it not only the geometry, but also the axis of rotation. Kind of like when we did the circular pattern in the wheel of the Automoblox part. So first off, the profile is automatically selected. That's cool. The second thing you select is the axis. And the axis in this case is the solid line. So there you go. There's your revolution. It revolves all the way around. We can hit OK. And you'll see that it's got a small hole in the end, big hole in the back. And that's great. The only one other thing you need to do to this particular feature is you have to round or fillet the edges. And the fillet here, and it tells us in the drawing, is 0.25. So we'll type in 0.25 for our radius, and we hit that side, and we're going to hit this side as well. And then we hit check mark, and we have created ourselves a button maker handle. And that's all there is to it. All right, in our next video, we'll go ahead and create the axle for the Automoblox T9, and we'll add to that to our Autodesk parts, Automoblox parts. Thanks a lot.